Greetings, Guardians. My name is Bife here. So, that's the wildest seasonal story drop we've seen in a long time. If you haven't played this week's seasonal story already, I wanted to just go ahead and give you this note that you should switch off this video right now. You want to play through this, trust me. The quest is somewhat long to get there because you've got a step where it requires you to kill 50 champions, so hit up a lost sector, I guess, or alternatively master catch crash if you have the numbers. This has been your spoiler warning, because today we're going to be talking about the massive revelations from the seasonal story beats that just dropped. So, this week comes hot off the heels of Mithrax showing a darker side to himself in front of both Eido and the Spider. This was a pretty big development a few weeks ago, and it was kind of scary. However, clearly, what Mithrax was hiding has just become a lot more obvious thanks to the seasonal story. There was a dark past to Mithrax that he was clearly hiding, and now, well, with the reveals and with Eido's investigative skills, we can start to piece together what that was. And the scary thing is, that's not even the darkest thing that was revealed. All of this week started with Eido's frustration and determination. Mithrax informed us of the scribe's move to start the week.
Guardian, Eido has taken action that may endanger us all. She sent a message to Aramis. She invoked a ritual from the old crews, words with empty hands. It is a type of parley where no violence is permitted. Eido believes Aramis will follow the rules of her people. I am not so trusting. Should Aramis accept, I would ask that you accompany us. In the meantime, continue the fight. This may be a ploy, and we must not be fooled. I hope that she ignores Eido's request, but if she does not, know this. Aramis does nothing that is not to her benefit. A word can do more damage than a blade. And Aramis is skilled at wielding both.
I feel as though Eido's move here is rash. In some ways genius, but rash. It's one of the only ways in which Aramis might consider a time of parley and response, but she is also a lethal combatant with words, as Mithrax has made clear. However, with the Kell of Salvation being contacted, it would take time for her to actually reach back out. And with that being done, we would eventually see Eido clarify everything. In the moments before Aramis was able to respond, Eido was talking to us, and this is what she said.
What Mithrax told you is true. I've called for a parley with Aramis. I do not know if she will agree to it, but I had to try. I have never seen Mithrax so frightened. I don't know why. I know he is not afraid of Aramis.
Scribe Eido, this is Aramis Kell of House Salvation. I will respect the old traditions. I agree to your request.
Thank you, Aramis. I look forward to our meeting.
So you say. But know this. A parley will not delay your house's destruction if you continue to stand in my way.
I hope that we can reach an understanding.
Do not waste my time.
Finally, on neutral territory, in an asteroid in the middle of the Themis cluster, Mithrax, Eido, Aramis, and ourselves met under a flag of truce. We would learn on that asteroid all sorts of things, and they would shake the foundations of Mithrax's relationship with his daughter, amongst our understandings of what the relics were. The greatest pain of Mithrax's past, and the greatest regret that he has tried to shield us all from, is this.
You taught me to honor Elixni tradition. Aramis agreed to parley. You cannot lose faith in the old ways now.
This is a mistake, Eido. Aramis listens to one voice only, and it is not ours.
I may draw power from the voice in the darkness, but I am an Elixni Kell, and I fight for the liberation of our people.
A true Kell serves their house. You serve only the witness.
And who do you serve? I agreed to meet with Elixni, not a light bearer.
The Guardian is here for your protection.
Aramis Kell, as scribe of House of Light, I feel compelled to tell you. There is another force searching for these relics.
I see. And who are these new meddlers, exactly?
One of many you have wronged, perhaps.
We did not identify the force, but they dispatched your associates with ease. We have in them a common enemy.
We have always had a common enemy. Abandon your pathetic attempts to appease your oppressors. Join me. Together we'll use these relics to achieve true freedom for the Elixni.
No. The relics pose too great a threat. They cannot fall to warmongers like you.
None know of their destructive power better than you, Mithrax.
What do you mean?
It was centuries ago. I am no longer that person.
No, you are the same as ever.
I want to know the truth. Will I have to hear it from her?
Centuries ago, when the Elixni first came to this system, when your father was just a hatchling, our people had nothing. So, when they discovered Nezarec, disciple of the Witness, entombed in the Lunar Pyramid, they harvested its dark power for themselves, and for the future of our people. Mithrax inherited one of these relics, and its power ensnared him. He sought more, no matter the cost. But the more his crew had, the less they shared. That became the way of things. Elixni turned against Elixni, and friend turned against friend. Over time, the relics of Nezarec were separated and scattered across the galaxy. Their influence faded, but the stains of their power endure. Mithrax fled from the butchery he was born into. He claims he has changed, and now lives a life of piety. But no matter how he tries to bury his past, with selfish displays of generosity and scraps of stolen wisdom, Mithrax will always be a liar, a thief, and a killer. Open your eyes, young scribe. Every light casts a shadow.
Idol, please. Let me explain.
So I think it's adequate to say that this changes everything, and more importantly, it raises the stakes of the entire seasonal story. What was previously a hunt for Aramis and her strange relics has turned from pirate treasure hunting into a deadly fight for survival, something altogether more terrifying. A disciple of the Witness is involved. As it turns out, the disciple in question is indeed the long-whispered and rumoured Nezarec. The darkest hour, What's more, we have some confirmation from Ido, for all his strange storytelling, that the Drifter was indeed correct about the tombs of Nezarec. Take a listen.
Our parley with Eramiskel has changed everything. Though not in the way I had hoped. I understand the relics now. The potency of their darkness, and Eramiskel's use of the old pirate crews to hunt them. Even my father's reticence. But this is not about the House of Light. This is about the mysterious disciple. The many tombs of Nezarec are well known, though the being itself is less thoroughly documented. I will delve into the Cryptarchy's records and see what I can uncover.
So where do we even start to break all this down? I guess that the best thing to do is just to go in order. We'll start first by talking about Nezarec, then we'll move on to the relationship between Ido and Mithrax and how that's been shattered and how it might heal. Then Mithrax's past is what we're going to mention, and finally we will sit and we'll talk about that third party that was mentioned by Ido that is also going after the relics, and I have a theory as to who that might be. So, first of all, we know that all the theory pointing to Nezarec's presence is indeed correct. We know that from all the little bits and pieces of lore adding up over both of the previous seasons, that Nezarec was a disciple that was at the center of the Lunar Pyramid, and we also know that the relics we were collecting were indeed the tombs of Nezarec. This means that the Drifter had one of them all along, and even hinted it to Shin Malphur back in the day, who obviously didn't know any better to do with it. So, yeah, scary to think it's been in his possession all this time. More importantly, we know that these relics contain vestiges of dark power. This lends us potential hints to lore found in the Vow of the Disciple as well, and it maybe gives us a little bit of a greater idea of what the Icarish fluid found within Rolk's pyramid was. Remember that this is the fluid that emerges from Rolk and the Caretaker when they die, and this fluid in the lore was so dangerous that one Guardian literally nuked themselves, it and their own remains of their Sparrow, rather than let it escape, overwhelm them, and potentially be let loose on the surface of Mars. What's even more disturbing now is that the whole series of relics has started whispering now that we've brought them together more intimately. Seriously, you can hear it in the helm, and it's loud. Like, it's really loud. If you've collected 5 of the relics thus far, and placed all of them down, go and listen. As for the relationship between Ido and her father, to move on, I think it's clearly fragmented, and it's still an open question as to whether or not it heals. I think Ido can come around to understanding her father's desire to keep her safe, and I think she'll see the nobility in him turning to the light even in moments of great corruption, surrounded by artifacts of great darkness. But, and this is the important bit, I think that will only happen when Mithrax acknowledges the past and accepts that we have to acknowledge our mistakes to better learn from them. The dialogue from them needs to be a two-way street. Mithrax as a father wants to protect his daughter, and I think we all understand that. But she is a lot more than that, and so is he. He isn't just a father, he is a Kell, and as a Kell, he needs to put the safety and prosperity of his house first, and to put aside his responsibilities as a father. From time to time, it will overlap, but not always. And the duties of Kell and father are of interchanging importance. Understanding when those different situations arises is something that I don't think Mithrax has had to confront just yet. It's important to acknowledge which one of them takes priority, and right now it's clear that this is way bigger than Mithrax or Ido or us or Eramis or anyone who is a singular figure that's involved. Above all else though, he needs to see Ido as more than his daughter, because she is more than his daughter. In this sense, Mithrax doesn't truly see her for who she is, and she doesn't really get the credit that she deserves. In this sense, Mithrax needs to understand what she is and what she aspires to be. She is a scholar of House Light. She is in many ways the future hope of the Eliksni, but as a person she is driven, pragmatic, and not averse to taking necessary risks in order to obtain victory. She is optimistic and seeks peace with others first, and even though she can come across as naive to a first appearance, it's clear that she learns quickly enough to break through that glass with ease. This can be seen from all sorts of interactions with her, such as her ability to force the truth about her father's past out of him, or from simply helping us to pull apart Spider's ploy with the terrible weekly engrams that awarded legendary some week and green gear others. Ido can be fooled at first on certain things if she doesn't know what's going on, but I don't think she can be fooled for long. She's far more intelligent than people give her credit for on that front, and she's very able to cotton on to things and then immediately flip the script after having mastered it. I really do think that by the certain point in time, she will become vicious. She's just in the process of getting there. As long as Mithrax acknowledges her as a daughter, and a daughter alone, I don't think that there's going to be as much healing as there could be. The moment that Mithrax acknowledges her for the strengths that she has, and respects that she is a scribe before his daughter, then there's a chance that their relationship will mend properly, and that the dialogue they establish with each other will be stronger. Mithrax, I think, has that protective father syndrome. You know, you want to be able to protect your children for the longest time possible, but ultimately, it's time for him to let her go and allow her to be a scribe instead of simply a child. The source of conflict that has brought the two apart is also important and worth discussing. Of course, it's Mithrax's past that he was trying to hide. In the cutscene, we see Mithrax, of course, obtaining that piece of Nezarek's power, and more importantly, we see him alongside two other Elixni that were close to him in his childhood, Civix and Rakis, aka Civix the Kel's Scourge, and Rakis who would one day become the Spider. Check out the video I did on Mithrax's mother for a little more information on these two. Their relationship as a trio of powerful warriors clearly broke at some point, which is why we may want to discuss this later down the line, but it seems clear that at some point the Spider was marooned on an island, or an asteroid of some kind, and just left to die, and we can see a little prelude to this as Mithrax is seen in the cutscene marooning crew members on a random asteroid so that they might die. Mithrax's past and brutality are on full display here, and I think the big question is how much of that is being done by Mithrax and how much of it was done under the Relic's influence. And that, I think, is a really important question, not just for Mithrax but for other characters in the Destiny universe. Have all of the different pirate lords maintained their power, and more importantly, become so brutal because they've had the relics near them? Has it been something else that has enforced their brutish ways? Is this part of the reason why Mithrax ultimately chose to forsake the relics? Is there something else that's going on behind it? If bringing all of them together is something that creates danger for those in proximity to them, they need to be handled with extreme care. And there's even bigger character implications, because you know who else has held onto one of these relics for God knows how long? Yeah, the Drifter. The Drifter has held on to the fourth tomb of Nezarec, as best we can tell, for as long as he has had the Hall, or potentially for even longer. Now, the Drifter was already pretty battle-scarred when it came to everything from his past, and, well, he survived the times of the Dark Ages, but imagine what has changed ever since he's picked up one of those relics if they are able to enforce someone's behaviors. And then imagine on the flip side of things how strong Mithrax would have to be to voluntarily choose to abandon that power. It's really quite something. However, this question is still something that we don't know the real answer to, and it's something which clearly presents danger, but we don't know if it's that kind of corrupting danger that it can sometimes be. For the moment though, it's worth thinking about and remembering just in case. Finally, we come to that last point of discussion, which is that mysterious third-party force within the story. Previously, they arose when we were going after our fourth pirate lord, the one who was a renowned beast tamer. It very clearly massacred Aramis's forces with ease, and by that measure, I feel as though they should have been able to easily decimate all the forces of the pirate lord as well. However, they didn't. It might merely be because of gameplay and narrative reasons not necessarily matching up, but I do wonder if this force is in fact a common adversary of ours. I've already put one wild theory along with the rest of the community out there, and we all saw that it was correct. Granted, I'm sure that by this point it's clear that some people had seen the leaks of the cutscene, but whatever, the point is, here's another wild theory for all of you that I'm going to throw out there, And as best I can tell, there are no leaks of anything of this nature, so out there in the wild, I think that the third party that's also seeking the relics is in fact Eris Morn. Her attacking Aramis's forces would definitely be an equivalent power which would have helped to clear the way for us, and she wouldn't necessarily mind clearing the way for us because we were bringing the relics together in the Lost City. She might be secretly aiding us for some other purpose. And that's the really important point. What is that other purpose? What reason does Eris have to do this? Eris previously was handed a relic by the Drifter, and we can presume that this was the fourth tomb of Nezarec. In this moment, she speculated that the relics with their dark energy within could be used for another function. If that's true, then perhaps it's a function that she seeks to enact. She's the only other player in this story who's had time to analyze the relics and has really seen a good use for them. We know that Mithrax is very much against using them and has cautioned anyone from doing so. It can't be Ido, and it can't be anyone else in our group, except for maybe the Drifter, who sometimes is able to get away with different things. But why he would go after certain relics and not just return them to the stockpile with the rest is unclear. It's also seemingly clear that if the Drifter did have more relics, with his trust with Eris Morn, he would have shared them with her. Eris handed the relic of the Drifters back to him, and that's where the story and theory really becomes confusing. It may be that she's deliberately trying to bring all the relics together so that she can enact that function. However, all of this is unclear, and whatever the case, these relics are effectively the equivalent of playing with fire. There is a disciple of the Witness involved. There is a disciple of the Witness within those different tombs. All of them being brought together means we could reconstitute a whole body. But that, of course, is something which we need to think about with real caution. Whatever our next moves are, we need to make them carefully, lest we lead to the ruin of everyone involved. And we now know absolutely that we cannot let Aramis claim these relics either. That's all from me for now. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys are enjoying the seasonal story as much as I am. If you are, go ahead and leave a like, and let me know your own thoughts down below in the comments section. Big question this week that's arisen from all of this: who is that third party? Who do you think it could possibly be? I'm not sure of the possibilities, but there's very few others than Eris that I can see. Initially I would have said Civix, but Civix is very dead after the Black Armory DLC, so you know, it's hard to sit there and claim that this is absolutely something that must have happened. I feel as though there are different leads that people might be able to tug on and find out about, but we'll see. All of that being said as well, if you want more Destiny content, go ahead and hit subscribe and the bell next to subscribe to turn on those email notifications. But as per usual, know that your viewership is quite enough for me, and that in the meantime, my name is Byf. Per audacia ad astra. I'll see you, Starside.